Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by SoRare MLB, which is a digital trading card and NFT-based free-to-play MLB game. We'll talk about SoRare a little bit more later on. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, you had such a sweat going on for like pretty late in the night. You had a lineup that was, going first, switching between like first, second, third place. You were up there for a while, and then you Darvish imploded and did not. Where'd you end up last night?
I think 16th.
16th. So not enough to really make an impact, to make some money there. Kind of a disappointing night for you. Were you tracking it all night?
Yeah, because it got out. It was in first basically from the jump, so I knew it was there. And then looking at it, it was like obviously you're in first place a lot of times at the beginning of the night, and it means nothing. But like it was just like the two immediate home runs from d'Arnaud combined with the two immediate home runs from Turner, and it had 1% McGill going off. So I was like, okay, this could actually be hard to catch. So yeah, I was following it the whole night, but needed Darvish to not suck, needed Walker to not be great, and went opposite directions. But I can't complain too much because I did screw up my entry. So I built my lineups in Fantasy Cruncher, and then Tristan McKenzie got scratched. And so I went in and selected all the McKenzie lineups and deleted them. And then I made some more lineups, added them in. I didn't realize that I would have to still undo that undo that filter. So when I took my lineups out of Fantasy Cruncher, I only had the lineups I built post McKenzie scratch. And so then I simmed them and everything. And I was like, where the hell are the rest of my lineup? So I can't complain too much. Like if I had not screwed up, maybe I don't even play that lineup.
Sure. So I mean, you can complain a little bit when you ended up where you did, just outside of the real money in 16th place here. And of course, we did have Adam as a positive EV lineup in the Sims tool. A lot of the lineups at the top last night did not grade out well for us. Some of them were one of them was just complete all one-offs, like literally not even two bats from one team. It was pretty wild to see that one up there, but we see Adam does well. Of course, Hishbu, another DFS pro, has one of his top lineups simmed out pretty well towards the top. Guys, if you have not yet checked out the Sims tool, you can see exactly how your lineups grade out right here. I should throw that into chat as well. Throw the link into chat. This is just part of the Sims tool, looking at it in retrospect, seeing what your lineups look like. And I do think that it's helpful. I think this is really not just interesting, but actually useful information to be able to see how your lineups should have did grade out for us. But also we have, of course, the pre-contest simulator where people have been absolutely crushing. We had somebody on the show just yesterday saying that they got 4th place in a fairly large contest, maybe 3rd place in a fairly large contest. We've seen just a lot of people doing very well with the pre-contest simulator. If you are interested in checking it out, I just did put the link into chat for the Sims tool. It's $180 a month or just $60. If you just want to check it out for a week, it's going to be $60 for a 1-week subscription. Check it out if you haven't already. Richard Carnes, welcome to Team Stochastic. I just saw Richard says he's joining. He's playing MLB, PGA, and MMA DFS today. I think I'm probably with you there, Rich. I don't know if there's any other sports that I'm playing here, but I think I'm probably with you on playing at least a little bit of all of those sports today. Adam, how are your PGA lineups going?
Not great. Mito missed the cut on 18, missed a short putt. So I only had 6%, 6 of 6. I have one lineup that I could see making a run potentially if everything breaks well, but not great.
Yeah, I'm off to a decent start, so I was excited. So like I posted this on Twitter. I've been pretty bad at PGA DFS. I have no idea what I'm doing with PGA DFS, but very excited to try out the new PGA Sims. I would not have played PGA this week if not for the launch of the Sims tool a day before it started. So I only joined one contest, and it was a $5 buying contest with 15,000 the first, like 14,000 entries. I have 3 of my 50 lineups in the top 100, those sim tool lineups. So that was really cool to see. However, 2 of the 3 of them have Jordan Spieth, and he imploded at the end of the round yesterday, did not make the cut. So my 2 best lineups did not actually get 6 of 6 through. So
yeah, it's brutal.
Just brutal. I fucking hate PGA DFS sometimes. It's
I,
just
I
like,
am looking forward to. So Josh is off to like a ridiculously good start this week.
oh, is he?
And he's like the total equity of his lineups right now is like 20 grand or something in the middle.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm very much looking forward to my one random good lineup beating all of his.
Oh yeah, for sure. You should. I mean, that would be amazing, right? That's the dream. Just having your
Yeah,
one
just,
lineup.
I really like. I hope Josh just gets like 5th, 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th, and I just win $1 million. Can rub it in his face.
cheering for you, because it's the funniest outcome. I just cheer for the funniest outcome.
Right.
And that does sound like the funniest outcome. So we have a bunch of different weird slates today, Adam. I think that we should talk about the early slate and the main slate. We're going to skip over the turbo slate, even though my Twins are on it. It's just a 2-game slate, not a lot of money involved. But the early slate that starts at 4:05 is, I think it has 50K to first in the main contest. So are you? Do you think you're prepared to talk about the early slate? Can we?
Yeah, I assume that's what we were doing. I didn't know we were doing the late.
Well, okay. So there's the early and then the 4-game main slate technically as well.
Yeah, I mean, I viewed that as a fake slate, but
that's fair. But obviously, the top, sorry, the lineup generator is going to treat that as the main slate, so probably worth at least looking at a little bit.
I mean, we have lineup generator for everything now.
Oh, we do.
Oh wait, lineup generator. Never mind. We have Sims for everything.
Yeah, it was Sims for everything. All right. Well, we'll focus mostly on that early slate because it is, as you said, it's like for all intents and purposes, essentially the main slate, even though it's been being called the early slate on DraftKings. The first game on this early slate is Toronto at Texas. Bowden Francis on the mound for the Blue Jays. Dane Dunning for the Rangers. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
No. Obviously, a really tough matchup for both guys. Nobody good is pitching for Toronto. Basically, a bullpen game there. Looks like you could get Trevor Richards, who did go a few innings his last fake start and actually struck out a bunch of guys. But I'm not going that route here against Texas. On the other side, Dunning is perfectly serviceable as a pitcher, but it's a tough strikeout matchup. It's a tough matchup as far as limiting runs. Only a 15% K percentage this year, 4.72 xFIP. Not really interested in the pitching.
All right. What about the bats here?
Yeah. Both sides obviously have plenty of upside. We have Texas right now coming in 3rd from the bottom in top stack percentage. That's going to change, I think. They look fine. 4.8 implied run total. Not the best matchup when you're dealing with a bullpen game. Richards has also been solid this year, but still a really good offense. And again, respectable 4.8 implied run total. On the Toronto side, 4.3 implied run total. They are currently coming in 5th in top stack percentage, going slightly under-owned. Happy to get to either side of this game.
All right. How would you rank the 4 sides?
Texas, Toronto, Dunning. I guess Texas, Toronto, Richards, Dunning, but that's just because he's 5K.
Okay.
None of just a heads up, this might be kind of a frustrating show because for some reason, like no web page I go to is loading.
Oh, is that just your internet?
I don't. My internet's fine as far as like I'm on the show.
That is true.
But yeah, like Twitter wasn't working for me today or this morning, and I was like, okay, whatever, like doesn't matter. But like I keep trying to like refresh FanGraphs pages now, and it keeps not working.
Huh. All right. Well, that is frustrating, but we'll get through. We'll get through just fine. I see people trolling our buddy Sean V in chat after he was giving us shit all day yesterday. I didn't even know. I mean, I know the only take of his that I remember, to be honest, is that the Marlins were not a good play, and they were fine. You needed Luis Arias, you didn't need him, but Luis Arias was great. But like, really, they didn't go off. Considering how well the Red Sox did, they did well enough that I think it's safe to say that he was wrong. But I think we knew that going in, so nothing really changed there. All right.
So somebody in chat said Twitter's down. Josh had told me it wasn't, so glad to know it's not just me.
Yeah, Josh was just messing with you. I actually have not looked at Twitter yet, so didn't know that. All right. Second game we have here is Miami at Washington. Braxton Garrett on the mound for the Marlins. Jake Irvin for the Nats. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Garrett's decent. Good enough matchup against Washington. Not a good strikeout matchup, but not a very good offense. 8,400 for Garrett, I think, is reasonable. 4 flat implied run total here. We have him coming in with a 14% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 12% projected ownership, 10% chance of being a top 2 value. So he looks solid. Like, there's a lot of pitchers ahead of him in terms of top 2 pitcher percentage, but they're all also at least $600 more expensive. Most of them are at least $1,200 more expensive. So, he's been solid this year. It is a park downgrade for him outside of Miami, but just shy of a 27% strikeout percentage, 2.98 xFIP so far this season. Really, really good numbers for him. On the other side, no interest in going to Irvin.
Okay. I just want to say, Corey, that was a really, really nice effort. He says D's is the best play on FanDuel early slate. Nobody's falling for that, Corey. Come on, man. All right. What do you think of the bats in this game?
Miami looks good. Irvin isn't a particularly good pitcher. Can't get to his splits right now since the internet won't work, but hasn't been very good. Doesn't project to be very good. Striking out 16% of hitters, 14% walk percentage this season, 6.16 xFIP. So I think going right back to Miami, and again, it is a nice park upgrade for them as well. Talked about power playing well in this park yesterday, and Irvin doesn't really do a good job limiting it either. So Soler once again looks good. Arise looks good. Sanchez is still sub 3K. If Garrett Cooper's back in the lineup, I like him as a cheap first base option. So Miami looks good. We have them fourth in top stack percentage right now, but also second in top value percentage, and first in top value is Oakland, which doesn't necessarily count as a baseball team. So Miami looks really, really good. They are currently first in stack score.
All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Miami, Garrett, Washington, Irvin.
Okay. Coach Kane asking on FanDuel, top 3 pitchers on the main slate. We will get to that, Coach Kane. Yeah, we'll at the end of talking about all of the games, we'll go over for both DraftKings and FanDuel. All right. Next up, we have Philadelphia at Oakland, which you just said is not a real baseball team, I think. Christopher Sanchez on the mound for the Phillies, James Caprillion for the A's. Any interest in these pitchers?
Not particularly. Sanchez at 5,700, yes. Caprillion, no. Sanchez is projected to be the second highest owned pitcher on the slate at 30%, 10% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher, but also a 26.5% chance of being a top 2 value. Again, I can't get to his FanGraphs page, so don't really have more to tell you than that, but he's 5,700, good matchup, good park, all of that. 4.2 implied run total for Oakland is not nothing, but $5,700 pitcher that does have some strikeout stuff. Don't mind getting there. Caprillion, one of the worst regular starting pitchers in baseball. Not a great matchup against Philly. Comes in with an 18% strikeout percentage, 13% walk percentage, 6 flat xFIP. Definitely interested in the Sanchez side.
Wait, you have those numbers now. Are you able to access FanGraphs now?
No, I have the page. I already had the page loaded with just all the starting pitchers.
Oh, okay.
But I can't get to anything that I didn't already have up. So I can't get to Christopher Sanchez's FanGraphs page.
Gotcha.
And I can't get to add more funds with all the splits data.
Right. All right. What is your level of interest in the bats here in Oakland?
From a value standpoint, they look good. I mentioned a second ago, they are first in top value percentage. They are facing a pitcher without much major league experience in Sanchez. But I think it's more so if you need to use them to balance out an expensive stack and get the good pitching, then fine. But having a $5,700 pitcher here, again, makes it so that's less likely, kind of similar to yesterday where, we talked about a lot of value stacks yesterday, but you also had a $5,400 Brian Wu, and it was just okay, well, probably not going to need to jam in bad offenses just because they're cheap. Same kind of thing here. Bad park. They're cheap. If you need savings and end up with Ruiz, Rooker, Laureano, there's nothing wrong with that, but you probably just aren't going to need to get there all that often.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Sanchez, Phillies, A's, Caprillion.
All right. 4th game on the slate, we have Cincinnati at Houston. Hunter Green on the mound for the Reds. Brandon Bielak for the Astros. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Green's actually coming in right now as the highest top 2 pitcher percentage at 22%, 29% projected ownership. Now, it is a scary matchup against Houston, and he is 9K, so it's not like he's free or anything, but he has struck out 33% of hitters this year, 3.6 xFIP, just over 1 home run per 9 innings. He's a very high upside pitcher, and he's still pretty cheap here at 9K relative to his strikeout upside. So 4.1 implied run total for Houston. It kind of reminds me of the spots yesterday with Gossman against Texas and Darvish against Tampa, where you had a ton of ownership coming into pitchers in tough matchups, but Houston's not as difficult a matchup, missing Alvarez. Obviously you have some good hitters in this lineup, but it's not the same quality as those other lineups, especially with Alvarez's bat missing. And Green is 9K, so it's not like you're talking about 11-2 like we were yesterday for Gossman.
Okay. I see EMAC in chat. I got to be there yesterday, Adam, when EMAC was trained in to self-produce the Sunday version of this show. So I'm looking forward to seeing whether an 80-year-old man can produce as well as I can. Good to see you, EMAC.
You guys are only born like 2 months apart, right?
Oh man, come on, Adam, come on. He's the one guy I can make old jokes about. Let me have my old jokes about EMAC.
All right, this industry is getting younger and younger. I got to take the shots where I can.
It's true. You're going to be an old guy soon too. Like
I know.
Only what?
I remember when I started, I was like young, like compared to everybody.
Yeah, no longer. Now you're probably like the median, but pretty soon you're going to be an old guy. All right. How about the bats in this Houston game?
Not overly interested in either side. Houston does have some upside inherently just because of the hitters that they have. Green gives up some power, but only about 1 home run per 9 innings so far this year. On the other side, Bielak at 7,700. He's not been great, striking out 16.5% of hitters, 4.68 xFIP, 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, but only a 3.9 implied run total for the Reds. Ellie De La Cruz is going to look good. The rest of it, I think, is going to be pretty tough to get to because this team's actually gotten pretty expensive.
Okay. How do you rank the 4 sides of it?
Green 1. I guess Houston 2. Bielak, Reds 3, Bielak 4, I guess. The only thing I'm confident in is Green 1.
1-2 says, I feel like you don't even need to adjust settings to crunch UFC, just default 150 annual profit. Man, I could not disagree more with that one. For UFC in particular, it's like it's so volatile. 1-2. Maybe do you just mean on tonight's slate or like in general? Because I haven't looked at tonight's slate at all, but in general, I feel like that's just going to lead you astray if you play the optimal. You really need to incorporate some ownership, some game theory there.
So UFC is like the perfect game theory sport.
Yeah. All right. 5th game up here, we have Los Angeles at Kansas City. Griffin Canyon on the mound for the Angels. Mike Mayers for the Royals. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Myers is not getting. He's getting 1% ownership at 5,500. If you wanted to, I guess, use him as a pivot from Sanchez's 30%, you could, but I don't anticipate really getting there. On the other side, Cannon getting 7% ownership, 8,200. It is a good matchup. You have Kansas City without Pasquantino, so they've been, a bad offense all year anyway, and now they're missing one of their more promising young hitters. So I don't mind taking some shots on Canning at 8,200. He does have a 22% strikeout percentage this year, 4.17 xFIP. Garrett's been better in that price range, but Garrett is also getting a little bit more ownership. So some interest in Canning as an SP2 option.
Okay. Emax says too many PPDs these days, even on these larger tournaments. I don't know if there have been any today, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we have a 14-game UFC slate. Last I looked,
I thought it had already got knocked down to like 12, but I'm not sure.
Oh, has it? Maybe I just haven't actually looked at it.
I just saw John Kelly tweet something about it a couple days ago.
That's probably accurate then. All right, how much interest do you have in the bats here in Kansas City?
Definitely interested in the Angel side. It is worth noting as well, it's 90 degrees here, or close to 90 degrees in KC. So ball should be carrying a bit. 5.7 implied run total for the Angels. We have them coming in first in top stack percentage, second in stack score behind Miami. They're not super expensive. Obviously you're going to have to pay for Ohtani and Trout, but other than that, there is nobody in the projected lineup above 4,300. You have Drury and Renfroe at 4,300 and 4K. Everybody else is sub 4K. So as they stack, you can definitely make pretty inexpensive Angel stacks if you need to. If savings don't matter, then obviously you can go with Ohtani, Trout, Renfroe, Drury, and one more, and you're still in good shape. So Myers isn't terrible, but again, good hitting weather here. Plenty of upside in this offense. On the other side for KC, not as interested. Always willing to play Salvador Perez. Nick Prado looks good. Bobby Witt is fine. Melendez is fine, but it doesn't strike me as a slate where you're going to need to get to a lot of Kansas City again because you have value pitching available. So we do have 8% aggregate ownership coming into the Royals, 8% chance of being the top value. They look fine from a value standpoint. I just don't know how much you're going to actually need them.
How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Angels, Royals, Canning, Myers.
Okay. Yeah, Sean confirms that it is a 12 game or 12 fight slate now for UFC, so it has been knocked down. Have you been able to access your FanGraphs yet?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'll buy you 1 minute now by talking about our sponsor, So Rare MLB. Hopefully, while I'm doing this read, Adam's FanGraphs. I haven't looked at FanGraphs, so I don't know if it's just you or if FanGraphs is down or something. I have not checked it out yet. Check out So Rare MLB though if you haven't already. Today is Saturday, so the next slate isn't going to start until Monday. That's the slates go Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday. So we are 1 day into the current slate, but next slate coming up just on Monday. Check out So Rare if you haven't already. You can get started playing on So Rare for free. When you sign up, you're going to be given your choice of some free cards, the common cards they call them, and you can enter those cards in common contests. After you make your choices what you want, you can play those right away on Monday in that slate, and in those common contests, you can win prizes that are worth real money that you can actually sell right on the So Rare website. It's a fantastic deal. Free money into some money. That's as good of a deal as you can find. Check it out if you haven't already. Just put the link into chat. If you have any interest in playing So Rare, it's a lot of fun. You can see here that my lineup so far this week not doing too hot. I mean, I guess I'm in top 800 out of 2200, so top almost top third, not quite there, but 25 points out of the closest reward. But Belak going today, Zach Wheeler going to be going. I don't know if he's today, sometime. So gonna still have my pitchers left to go, and my bats are at least all in the positive. So I think I've got a shot here. These are limited cards. You can buy these on the secondary market if you just go to Market Manager Sales. Typically, where I buy them, you can also buy them at auction if people are auctioning them off. You can find you can buy these cards. A little bit more difficult to acquire the common cards, other than you can get them for free right when you sign up. After that, you can win them in contests. You can swap out your cards. I think those are the only ways to acquire the common cards. But these limited cards, you can get whatever you want, play whatever cards you want. Just go to the market. They're not very expensive, and you can make some nice lineups. So check it out if you have not already. All right, we will get back to the slate. Next up, we have St. Louis at New York. Adam Wainwright on the mound for the Cardinals. Kodai Senga for the Mets. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, good strikeout stuff from Senga. Not the best strikeout matchup, but he's only pulling 12% ownership. If you look at the top pitchers tool, he's kind of sandwiched in a spot where there are pitchers that look better, and then there's also pitchers that are cheaper, but it's squeezing the ownership on him where he's third in top 2 pitcher percentage. The 2 pitchers ahead of him, Green and Logan Gilbert, are pulling about 30% ownership apiece. Senga's at 12. Then you have 18 for Mitch Keller, who's right below him, 24 for Giolito, who's 5th. So it is an interesting spot where, Senga does still have some issues. He's walking 14% of hitters this year, but he's got a 3.99 xFIP. He struck out 28% of hitters, second highest strikeout percentage on the slate, excluding Richards and Myers, fake numbers. But yeah, so the upside for Senga looks pretty good, even though the spot isn't ideal. On the other side for Wainwright, I don't really see much reason to get to him.
Okay. Josh Gillum asking any weather concerns on the early slate. I don't see any weather concerns.
Not on the early, I don't think.
On the early slate.
Red Sox, Yankees on the quote unquote main slate.
All right. So on the main slate, we have some concerns, but yeah, nothing on the early slate. What are face-off splits? Is face-off just like where they come up and do this to each other? Like,
yes, Sean V is making his UFC picks based on photo ops.
Who look tougher? I will say I tweeted this out the other day. Like there are times when I don't look at that kind of stuff. I make my picks and then
shouldn't, obviously.
Yeah, obviously you shouldn't. But there are times when you see like the interview of like pre-fight, they show the interviews of the fighters. And I'm like, oh, I fucked up. Like I played the wrong fighter here. You can just tell like this guy does not have any confidence in himself. He's about to get slaughtered sometimes before the fight. Obviously that's not actionable either, but like there are times that I feel that same way sometimes as Sean is saying.
I mean, for me, and finally now I feel like I've seen most fighters fight at least once. But like when I started playing heavily and like I just had no idea who anybody was, it would every card it would just be like, all right, I need I'm really heavy on whatever, and then I would see what they look like compared to the person they're fighting, and I'm just like, shit, I don't want this.
Yeah, exactly, same thing. Brian Ferreira says that FanGraphs not for him either, and I love this
UFC though.
Sean V coming in. Ship, you don't know UFC though. I'd like to. Do you see the trophy in the background behind Ship right now? He is the reigning UFC champion on DraftKings, but he does not know UFC. All right.
I mean, I don't know UFC.
You know
can
UFC
perfectly find
DFS.
it. I'm pretty good at MMA DFS.
Right. It's exactly how I feel when he says I don't know MLB. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know MLB as well as everybody, but I also have profited at MLB DFS because you don't necessarily need to know all the ins and outs, the home road splits, etc. about MLB to have success at it. Anyway, enough about that. Did you we haven't talked about the bets here, have we? St. Louis, New York bet, Mets bets?
No, we didn't. The Mets look decent. It's not a good park. Wainwright is definitely on the back end of his career. Similar in age to you and Emac. So I don't mind getting to the Mets. They do have a 5-run implied total. They're coming in sixth right now in top stack percentage at 6%, 10% ownership, but also a 9% chance of being the top value. So they're going to look good in stack score. Right now, we have them third behind the Marlins and the Angels. And it's just, when you look at this lineup, they are essentially free. You don't have Peter Alonso, which obviously weakens the lineup. But as a result, the most expensive hitter in their projected lineup is Francisco Lindor at 4,700. Next is Nimmo at 4K. Everybody else is cheaper than that. So you do have a very cheap team that has quality hitters. I, again, can't get to the splits, but going from memory, Wainwright has had issues with left-handed power over the last couple of years. I'm like, I don't know, 90% sure that is correct. And you do have plenty of left-handed power here with Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Beatty. Looks like a pretty good offense to get to.
I am enjoying the Josh trolling. This is some good trolling. Josh, no, he isn't the reigning champ. He says the reigning runner-up. You did lose in the head-to-head for the Tournament of Champions ticket. What do you have to say for? Are you the runner-up? And then he adds, it's 2023. That shit in the background is a participation trophy. This is some good trolling, Adam. What do you have to say for yourself?
It very clearly says champion on it, and there hasn't been a new UFC live final, so still reigning.
All right, I think that's a good enough response. All right, did you rank the 4 sides of this?
I did not. Mets, Senga, I guess Cards, Wainwright.
I also like Baldy in the UFC, and Josh came running out of his bathroom here. And that, yeah, I mean, he's always at the ready since he doesn't wash his hands. He's just he can run right out at any moment. All right, next up we have Colorado at Atlanta. Connor Siebold, Cy Young candidate, pitching for the Rockies. We have Bryce Elder on the mound for the Braves. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, so I mean, I have interest in Elder. He's 10K, which is a healthy price tag, but it is a good matchup for him. I think the ownership is maybe a little bit higher than it should be. He's pulling about 19% right now, 17% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. He doesn't have great strikeout stuff, 20.8% K percentage, but he is a good pitcher overall, 3.75 xFIP, less than 1 home run per 9 innings, only a 7% walk percentage. So you're getting a good pitcher facing a bad Colorado offense with a 3.2 implied run total. Happy to get there. I think he is correctly priced, if not a little bit overpriced, but I also, there's, enough cheap bats. There's a cheap SP2 on the slate. The salary's not, you don't have to be that picky with salary today. So even if Bryce Elder is like a $9,000 pitcher, you can still pay 10 pretty easily on this slate. Seabold on the other side, I'm sure is going to throw a gem, but I won't have him.
I'm missing where it is now. Mark Taylor asked, did they cover the Astros game picks yet? Yeah, we did probably about 15 minutes ago. If you rewind, we don't have the sidebar. Adam, I also learned just yesterday that this show, where the you and me version of it that we've been doing for 6 days a week, is no longer going to be just you and me. We're going to have some, I think we're going to have some actually produced shows for the strategy show. It's also going to be earlier in the morning, some of the days going forward.
Good call on that. So yeah, starting next week, this show goes back to 10 a.m. now that NBA is over. I think Monday is me and Lofty or me and Josh, but good call, because you can watch it at noon if you want to, but
right. But if you want to watch it live, you're going to have to be a little bit earlier, and it's going to be a mix of people. And I think we're going to have produced. I should actually double check that before I make any promises, but I think we're going to have actual show producers on those, which will mean you're going to be able to see that sidebar. You're going to be able to know where we are. Let me actually look. I've got the schedule open here. Let me scroll down a little bit. So the first day is going to be Monday the 19th. Yeah, we've got Jordan Klein on it with you and Lofty on Monday. So I think going forward, you're generally going to be able to, we're going to have a sidebar showing you exactly where we are. That's kind of exciting. Also exciting for me to, I've gotten more used to it doing shows in the morning, but still, I'm going to be able to open myself up to do some more best ball content and stuff. So exciting times. Things are changing. Everybody, we've got more people on it now. All right. How much interest do you have in the bats here in Atlanta?
A lot. Another 6.3 implied run total here. Seabold has obviously burned me the last couple of times out, taking hitters against him. Not going to stop now. Happy to get back to Atlanta. Again, they're going to get ownership. They pretty much always do. They are 6th in stack score because they're expensive, but that does keep the ownership in check at least a little bit. 9% aggregate ownership is 3rd highest on the slate. 12.5% chance of being the top stack. We have them 2nd to the Angels, pretty much neck and neck. But yeah, if you can find the salary, which shouldn't be that difficult on this slate, to do so, you can use Sanchez. You can use a cheap secondary stack. There's going to be a bunch of ways you can do it. But, Acuna, Albies, Riley, Murphy, Olsen, all obviously great plays. And then the bottom of the order is cheap. So while those guys, the bottom of the order aren't as good as the top, Ozuna, Rosario, Harris, these guys still have plenty of upside and they're cheap. So as a stack, you can use them to, offset some of that, some of the expensive, studs in this lineup too. So Atlanta's going to look really good.
All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of it?
Elder, Braves, Elder, Rocky, Seabold.
You're not going to Cy Seabold after his outing last time against the Red Sox?
No, I got to stick to the brand. No Julio Teheran and no Connor Seabold.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Chicago at Seattle. We've got Lucas Giolito on the mound for the White Sox. Logan Gilbert for the Mariners. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Gilbert looks good at 10. They both look good, but Gilbert at 10-3 stands out. 3.2 implied run total for the White Sox in one of the best pitchers parks in baseball. So far this year, Gilbert has struck out 27% of hitters. He doesn't walk anybody, only a 4% walk percentage, 3.43 xFIP. White Sox have obviously struggled this season offensively. They may or may not be figuring it out. We saw some signs of life in LA. And the only reason I mentioned that is because they do actually have talent on this team. It's not like, but when the A's start stringing together runs, you just say, whatever, that's a couple random games. The White Sox do have talent. So, maybe they're putting it together, but also they've essentially just underperformed their talent for a year and a half now. So maybe they just aren't actually good. Either way, so far this year against right-handed pitching, they are tied for second. Their active roster is second to last in WRC plus, tied with the Yankees, only better than the Tigers. 89 WRC plus, 23.3% strikeout percentage. Everything looks good for Gilbert. On the other side, Giolito, not the same pitcher he used to be, but still not bad and gets a pretty solid strikeout matchup in a good park. Mariners have a 24.5% K percentage against right-handed pitching this year, 101 WRC plus. They do have some power in their lineup. Obviously they can do some damage, but 9,600 for Giolito here, coming in with about a 25% strikeout percentage, 4.35 xFIP. We have him 5th in top 2 pitcher percentage at 17%, pulling 24% ownership. So both pitchers here look pretty good. I prefer Gilbert if you can find the extra $700.
Okay. We did just get a question from Summit Beats. Any Kansas City weather concerns? Looks like good chance of rain by 4 p.m. It looks like they do have like pop-up showers coming up. So maybe like as far as this slate goes, I'd say it's the biggest concern of a spot. It's the spot that we have the biggest concerns about, but still I think it's probably going to play. Pay attention to it. I guess pay attention to the weather. But I don't think it's huge concerns. Would you agree with that, Adam?
As of right now, like if the slate were starting right now, I would be playing KC and not worrying about it. Obviously keep an eye out just to make sure that like in 3 hours, it's not like, oh, there are a million pop-ups just firing, over the stadium. That would be different. But as of right now, it looks like it should be fine.
Yep. Any interest in the bats here in Seattle?
Did you just imply I'm going to die young?
I'm glad you're going to age. He was saying that I can't let you talk shit about how old me and EMAC are. I'm saying I don't need to respond to that. He said I have to respond, but like you're just going to get older is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. I read it as like, well, he doesn't have that long left.
I mean, none of us do, Adam.
Yeah, true. No real interest in the bats. If you were going to an offense, I think the Mariners look better than the White Sox.
Also, Randy Forth is constantly trolling me on Twitter about my Minnesota sports fandom. Last night, he sent me a public message on Twitter saying, "What's wrong with the Twins pitchers?" It's like, come on, I don't know. You don't have to troll me about Minnesota sports. I know that they're not good. All right, final game. Wait, yes, did you rank the 4 sides?
Gilbert, Giolito, Mariners, White Sox.
Okay. Final game of this early slate, Pittsburgh at Milwaukee. Mitch Keller on the mound for the Pirates. Wade Miley for the Brewers. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Keller looks pretty good. Negative park shift for him in Milwaukee, but plenty of strikeouts in this lineup as well. Against right-handed pitching so far this year, 24% K percentage for Milwaukee with a 97 WRC plus, Keller has finally figured it out. He's always had good stuff. He's added that sweeper that is really good. If you follow the Pitching Ninja account, I think Keller threw one that had literally 2 feet of movement in his last start. It was just a ridiculous pitch. So he's coming in with about a 28% strikeout percentage, less than 1 home run per 9, 3.27 xFIP. He's looking like a legitimate ace. It looks like, he finally figured it out. The Pirates haven't had time to ruin it yet. Hopefully he gets traded or leaves in free agency before they can. So as of right now, still looking like a very good pitcher, 18% ownership, coming in with a little bit less than Gilbert and Green, a little bit more than Senga, 20% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. So happy to get there. Miley, not nearly as interesting, not a very good strikeout pitcher, $7,200. So it's not like you're getting that weird $5,800 price or anything. Pretty tough to want to get to him, but Keller does look good.
I just noticed this tweet from Dave Oliver, Elway's Army. Definitely know that name. He's been at the top of leaderboards plenty of times, but he says best tools and advice, hands down. Thank you guys. Took first in a tournament last night. Very cool to see that, Dave. Congrats. I just noticed it as I was checking Twitter right now, so I wanted to give a shout out to Dave while we're here. All right. Well, with that level of interest in Mitch Keller, are you going to any bats in this Milwaukee game?
Probably not. I would go to the Pirates side first. Andrew McCutchen, 4,400 in a park that plays up right-handed power, looks good. Connor Joe is cheap. Brian Reynolds is good. Hayes looks good. So the Pirates side is not bad here. Like they're not on the same level as Atlanta and the Angels and everything, but we do have them 5th in stack score. It's behind Miami, the Angels, the Mets, and the Phillies. So they do look pretty decent here. Miley, when he's on, gets ground balls, limits hard contact, but small margin for error for him since he doesn't miss a lot of bats. And you do get a nice park shift for the Pirates. Not as interested in going to the Brewers side against Keller.
All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of this game?
Keller, Pirates, Brewers, Miley.
All right. We made it through the end of.
Or I guess probably you could put Pirates first, Keller second. It that's one of those kind of depends like what you're looking for.
Achilles asked Neil, how did Joe Ryan do last night? Missed the games. Yeah, sorry, me too, man. No idea. Can't tell you. All right, we have made it through the end of the early slate, Adam. We'll do both DraftKings and FanDuel. So starting with favorite stacks, 3 favorite stacks on DraftKings, and then let me know if it's the same on FanDuel.
Miami, Angels, Mets on DraftKings. Oh, good. It actually switched over to FanDuel. I was afraid I was about to lose my top stack stuff. We don't have FanDuel has a different slate, I guess.
Oh, I haven't looked at it. All right. Well, let me check out. He also asked for FanDuel. We were asked for FanDuel main specifically, so let me take a look.
So the FanDuel main, I think, it looks like FanDuel main is what DraftKings is calling early.
Okay.
So at Angels, Miami, Atlanta there.
Okay. 3 favorite pitchers on whichever site you want to talk about.
DraftKings, Gilbert, Green, and I guess I'll say Sanchez just because those 2 are expensive and he's cheap. On FanDuel, I'll go Gilbert at 9,500, Green at 10-2, Keller at 10-2.
Home run pick.
Jorge Soler.
I'm gonna take the obvious one, I think, which is Shohei Ohtani in Kansas City against Mike Mayers.
Yeah, he always makes sense to go to one of the teams with like a 6 implied run total.
Yeah. All right, so that's gonna do it for the early/main DraftKings slate. Let's go quickly through the 4-game technically main slate as well, Adam. Which again, it's just 4 games. We'll go through this one quickly. First game on this one is Tampa Bay versus San Diego. Zach Eflin on the mound for the Rays. Blake Snell in a revenge spot for the No, did Blake Snell ever pitch for Tampa? Am I wrong?
Yeah, yeah. That's where he spent most of his career.
Okay, yeah. I was like, okay, Blake Snell in a revenge spot against the Rays. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah. Once again, we get a slate where Snell ends up being chalk just because it's 4 games. He's getting 43% ownership. It scares me. Tampa's obviously a tough matchup, but I don't think there's like a perfect pitching answer on this slate either. So probably like I think you can make a good case for getting like a little bit less of Snell and a little bit more of some of these other pitchers. But either way, he's going to be one of the top pitching options. 27.5% strikeout percentage, just shy of a 4 xFIP. Still walks too many guys. Has a dangerous matchup, but got to take what you get on a slate like this.
Right.
Eflin 10-4, so $1,200 more expensive than Snell. Not an easy matchup against the Padres either. He's been solid this year, striking out 26% of hitters, 3.07 xFIP. He right now is projected for 30% ownership, so a little bit behind Snell, but again, also less expensive. Both pitchers look good. Both pitchers look good in the context of the slate.
Right.
Both matchups are certainly difficult, though.
Sure. Any interest in the bats?
In large field tournaments, yes. They're 2 of the bottom 3 in top stack percentage, but still 10% chance of being the top stack for Tampa Bay at about 10% ownership, 7% chance for San Diego at about 10% ownership. But you're also, getting the added benefit of them facing 2 of the more popular pitchers on the slate. They are both offenses that have high ceilings. There's not a big margin for error for the opposing pitcher. So I do think that they're interesting tournament plays. They're certainly not at the top of the list in terms of chances of success, though.
All right. And then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Snell, Eflin, Tampa, Padres.
Okay. Next up, we have New York at Boston. Clark Schmidt on the mound for the Yankees. Brian Bello for the Red Sox. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Bello coming in at 7,500 looks pretty good. I mentioned it a second ago when we were talking about, I don't know, some other team, but the Yankees are tied for the White Sox. The Yankees are tied for second to last right now on their active roster, WRC plus against right-handed pitching. The absence of Judge is massive for this team. Obviously, they still have some dangerous hitters in this lineup, but this is a lineup with a lot of 4A type guys in it. So it looks solid for a solid spot for Bello. It's still a hitter's park. It's still a tough overall spot, but 21% strikeout percentage. When he's on, he's good at keeping the ball on the ground. His walk rate's down this year, 3.92 xFIP. He's pulling 35% ownership. Looks pretty good. I think he looks better than Schmidt, but it is definitely worth noting that he's getting like 7 times the ownership. Schmidt's $600 less expensive, 18.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Bello's 22%. Like, you shouldn't be getting this level of ownership gap, even though Bello does look like the better option. Schmidt's got solid strikeout stuff. He's struck out 24% of hitters this year, 3.92 xFIP. It is a really tough matchup against the Red Sox. But, again, in tournaments where, with it being a 4-game slate, it can be difficult to differentiate. If you're only going to get 5 to 6% ownership coming into Schmidt, he looks like a pretty good play.
Yeah. What about the bats in this game?
Not overly interested. It's only supposed to be like 60 degrees in Boston. Again, we do have rain concerns here as well, so keep an eye on that. But not great hitting weather. 2 decent pitchers. You can always make the upside case for the Red Sox. They're 3rd in top stack percentage, but and that is the side I would go to first. Yankees are actually 1st in top stack percentage, which again I think that's not right, and it's going to change. I would go to the Red Sox side first, but I like the pitching actually more than the hitting.
All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Bello, Schmidt, Boston, Yankees.
Apparently, the internet is breaking left in pieces, asking anyone else not able to log into DraftKings. I think I am able to log into DraftKings. I just double checked, but something's happening with the internet apparently today because people are struggling to access stuff. All right. 3rd game on the slate, we have San Francisco at Los Angeles. Alex Wood on the mound for the Giants. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Miller looks like the top arm on the slate. He's only 7,700, pulling 51% ownership. It's a tough matchup against the Giants, but every offense on this slate outside of Cleveland is a quality offense, and Cleveland doesn't strike out. So it's not like you have great matchups anywhere. So it kind of makes it a moot point. 3.7 implied run total for the Giants. Miller's been impressive so far in his rookie year, striking out 26% of hitters, 3.22 xFIP, limited sample, but this guy he's got good stuff. He's looked good so far. Happy to get to him at 7,700. Wood on the other side is sandwiched in between Bello and Schmidt in top 2 pitcher percentage. He's actually pulling less ownership than either of them. So again, really tough matchup against the Dodgers. But if he's going to be 4% owned on this slate and Bello's going to be 36, that's a pretty solid way to differentiate when their top 2 percentage is very, very similar.
Okay. How much interest in the bats here?
Not much. The Dodgers side is definitely where I start. Wood isn't bad, but isn't great either. 4.8 implied run total for the Dodgers. 4.88 xFIP so far this year for Wood. He hasn't given up a lot of power though, and the Dodgers are expensive. So if you can find ways to afford them, then great. But we have them fourth in stack score just because they are so expensive. Or sorry, we have them fourth in top stack. In stack score, they're also fourth because they're so expensive. But if you can find the salary, then great.
How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Miller, Dodgers, Wood, Giants.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on Detroit team total over 3.5? I'm guessing you have not looked at the this game.
I have no idea who they're even playing.
Twins doing a bullpen game here. I don't have a strong take on it, to be honest. I want to say under 3.5 because it's the Twins, but that is a very low line. So I
have no idea. Like I don't even know anything about the guys pitching for the Twins.
Yeah. All right. Did you rank the four sides already?
Yes.
Final game of this main slate: Cleveland at Arizona. Shane Bieber on the mound for the Guardians. Tommy Henry for the Diamondbacks. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Interest in Bieber. It's not a great spot, but he's not getting as much ownership as some of the other pitchers. He's at 23%. He's $8,400, so he's $800 less expensive than Snell, $2K less expensive than Eflin. Both of those guys are getting more ownership than him, and that's not necessarily wrong. Bieber's not striking guys out this year. Only a 17.5% K percentage, 4.2 xFIP, tough matchup. You should be getting more Eflin and more Snell than Bieber, but from a range of outcome standpoint, he, relative to those other two, is probably going a little bit under-owned, especially when you factor in the price. So I don't mind getting there. Henry, a much more difficult sell. Cleveland, not a good offense, but they don't strike out a lot. Henry is pretty bad, pulling 7% ownership. I'd be more inclined to get to him if the Bayo, Wood, Schmidt ownership were split more evenly across them. Let's say you were getting 20% ownership to Bayo, 12 to Wood, 15 to Schmidt, and then Henry's coming in at 5 to 7. That would be kind of interesting. But here it's unless I really need the extra savings, if I'm paying down, if I'm looking to be contrarian at pitcher, I would go Schmidt, then I would go Wood, then I would go Henry.
Okay. Any interest in the bats here?
A little bit in Cleveland. A little bit in either side. Cleveland, does have probably the best matchup on the slate. It's actually not even really close. Tommy Henry this year, striking out 16% of hitters with a 5.36 xFIP, 1.67 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Jose Ramirez is going to look really good at 4,600. Rosario is going to look very good at 3,300. The rest of the team is going to look like garbage, but they're also cheap, so you can still play them. And it's just a matter of who is worse between them and Tommy Henry. So don't mind that. And then the Arizona side, you do get a quality offense facing a pitcher in Bieber that has clearly lost it. Not a total gas can in terms of run prevention. Like I said, a 4.2 xFIP, but strikeout stuff is way down. Hitters are putting the ball in play a lot more, and the Diamondbacks aren't very expensive either. So I'd get to the Diamondback side first, but both of them in tournaments are pretty solid stacks. And they'll only look better if that Red Sox game goes away.
Sure. How would you rank the four sides of this game?
Bieber, Guardians, Diamondbacks, Henry.
How many batters think you play against a pitcher on this slate?
Probably one. So normally I go 1 on 4, 2 on 3. I think I'm actually going to cut that back even a little bit. The last 3 game slate I played, I happened to be. It was the weird one the other day where it started at 1 and then there were the 2 4 o'clock games, so we didn't have lineups. Right. And so when I was going through and trying to adjust lineups once we got them, I was kind of realizing how even on a 3 game slate, there were so many lineups where I had 2 hitters against my pitcher where I could very easily just turn at least one of those guys into somebody that was comparable and not facing my pitcher. And it was okay, obviously that's preferred. So probably I would go 1 or 0 here.
Okay.
And I think I'm probably going to start going 1 on 3 gamers.
Okay. All right.
And the answer should also be lower the fewer lineups you're playing. If you're playing 150 on a 3 game slate or even a 4 game slate, you can afford to be a little bit more liberal with what you're doing.
Right.
But if you're playing 20 lineups or something, you can definitely make 20 good lineups before you start playing dudes against your pitcher.
Right. Be a little bit more restrictive if you're playing fewer lineups, and then as you're playing more, maybe a little bit open it up a little bit to some of those bats against your pitcher. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Einsteinium says that it was him. He hacked the internet. That's why everything's wrong. With a name like Einsteinium, I kind of believe you.
Yeah. Can you just like permanently make my Twitter not work? That would be fantastic.
You could pull a Josh and just like get rid of it.
Josh got rid of his Twitter?
Well, Discord.
Yeah.
All right. Did you rank the 4 sides of this Arizona game?
Yes. And they were close, so don't make me do it again.
Okay. Those are the ones I want to make you do it again. That's
I think I said Bieber, Guardians, Diamondbacks, Henry.
All right. Well, we made it through the end of this main slate, Adam. Actually, I'm supposed to hang on. I should tell you guys you can still get BetPro for cheap. I just threw it up on the screen. You can see what BetPro will show you, all this stuff, all the different books. It's shopping different books for you, telling you win odds, how much of your bankroll you should put on a given bet, etc., etc. Check out BetPro if you haven't already. The offer we have right now, introductory trial month at $24.95 for 30 days for BetPro. If you use the link in the description of this video, check it out. Just $24.95 for your first 30 days. Then it recurs at $29.95 weekly. So you're getting a lot off right now if you use the link in the description of this video. Check it out if you haven't already. And of course, Adam does BetPro videos, I think 5 days a week. You're not doing one today, right?
I am not doing one today.
But 5 days a week you can catch Adam's interpretation of what BetPro is showing you. So check that out as well. All right, Adam, on this main slate, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so Fangraphs apparently is working for me. The problem is that Christopher Sanchez spells Christopher wrong. So I
so this whole show.
Yeah. So I kept just typing in Christopher Sanchez, like spelled the way most people spell Christopher. And it's just like popping up with Shohei Ohtani and like a bunch of like random names. And so then I was like, wait, the site seems to be working. It's just not like loading the players correctly. So I just tried clicking on Sanchez's like the link on like the probable pitchers page, and it did get me there, and that's where I realized he spells it differently. But most of just to kind of recap that, because he is a big piece of the early slate. 8 starts, 10 appearances at AAA this year, 49 2/3 innings pitched, 19.8% strikeout percentage, 5.33 FIP. Projects going forward, the bat has him with a 19% strikeout percentage, 4.53 FIP. ATC 19.7% strikeout percentage, 4.32 FIP. So he just projects as like an average-ish type pitcher, which at 5,700 against Oakland is certainly enough to make him a good play. But I do think it's important to distinguish. This is not the Brian Wu play from yesterday. This guy is like a serviceable, you can throw him out there and he probably won't be too bad type guy. Whereas Brian Wu is a like, you can throw him out there and he's going to just shut the other team down type guy.
Interesting. Okay. Good recap there. All right. On this, the main slate, 3 favorite stacks.
They're all gross. Dodgers, Guardians, Diamondbacks.
3 favorite pitchers.
Bobby Miller, I guess Snell, Clark Schmidt in tournaments. Brian Bayo is the real third answer, I guess, but Clark Schmidt in tournaments.
All right. Isaiah says, struggling with choosing between the Braves and Phillies in the early slate. What's your deciding factor in choosing who to stack if you're hand building?
I mean, if assuming you have a lineup where like ownership's not a big concern or anything, I would just go with the team that has an implied run total like a run or 2 higher that isn't hitting in Oakland.
Okay, so you're going with the Braves there. Home run pick.
I will take Jose Ramirez.
All right, Jose Ramirez. Where is he? We have Giancarlo Stanton at the top of the board. I'm going with Giancarlo Stanton. 26% chance of hitting a home run here. Where is Jose Ramirez though? He is down at 17% chance of hitting a home run. I would have expected. I guess it's lefty on lefty is maybe brings down a little bit.
He's a switch hitter.
Yeah. Does he hit better home runs lefty though? I don't know.
Going from memory for his career, he's actually had more power right-handed. That could be completely wrong. That's just how I remember it.
Okay. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll change throughout the day. I don't know if those odds change at all throughout the day, but 17%. I would have expected it to be higher for Jose Ramirez. All right.
And just to follow up, because Einsteinium said they're both around 6. Thinking about it from a DFS standpoint, you get more points for home runs. So as a tie, like the tiebreaker for me would just be it's a lot easier to hit home runs in Atlanta than Oakland.
Yeah.
Like say but two teams can score 6 runs and they can be very far apart in terms of fantasy value, depending on how they scored them.
All right. All right. We made it through the end of the show. Any final thoughts? Any words for people?
Don't forget, if you're playing PGA Showdown, you got a half hour to get your stuff done. MMA tonight, 2 baseball slates. Good luck. Have fun. Hopefully you all lose to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day of DFS. And remember, on Monday, the show is gonna be at 9 a.m. Central Time. I think, is that 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m.
It
Eastern?
is 10 a.m. real person time. Yes.
It is 10 a.m. if you're an East Coast elitist. It is 9 a.m. Central Time on Monday. It's going to be a produced show. You're going to be able to see. You should be able to see the sidebar and stuff, which game we're on and stuff. So that's going to be pretty fun. So look forward to that. Check it out at the earlier time. I put out a Prize Picks video on OddsShopper already this morning. I'll be doing a lineup generator video as well, so you can check that out if you're interested in seeing what the lineup generator is giving us today. That'll be coming out this afternoon. Thank you guys very much for watching. And again, if you have not hit the like button, please do so. Thanks for watching and good luck today.